So a few months ago, I was in dire need of a new wireless gaming headset. I mean, I could have used Bluetooth headphones, but then there's the problem with the latency. So I was really looking for something more faster and gaming oriented. Right at that time, Sony released their Inzone lineup, their new console, PlayStation, and PC gaming headsets, and I bought the H7, which is kind of the middle version between the H3 and the H9. The H3, not being wireless, was out of the question, and the H9, I mean, it was expensive enough, and I don't really need ANC when gaming, so basically the H7 was perfectly fine. After using the H7 for quite some time, I really wanted to do a review for that one, so let's just start with build quality. So we're off to a good start here because I cannot be the only one who think these look stupidly ugly. I have no idea. They look like an 80s B-movie version of what people thought astronauts would wear, or something like that. I do think they feel pretty cheap for being, I mean, these were like €200. The plastic, everything here, I mean, they feel okay. It's not like extremely bad, but they just could be a bit more quality feeling there. The plastic is just like feels like really cheap plastic, and the whole construction, I don't know. The plastic has kind of a rough texture. I always compare plastic to a Sennheiser plastic because even their cheaper headphones feel good. After using them for quite some time, I did get the feeling they are sturdy enough, though maybe it's also just the white color that makes these like appear more cheaply made. Anyway, it's a plasticky construction, so it's pretty light, which is plus. You can see like some metal reinforcements here. I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but yeah, here it is, kind of a slim metal strip there. And in the headband there should be a metal too, so just in the usual places where it should be. It's USB-C, of course. You have your on-off button, your Bluetooth connection button, and game and chat, which everyone tells me it's such a useful feature, but I never really use this. You have your volume wheel, which is actually pretty nicely placed. Like they made like a little bump here, which is really convenient. I've had wireless gaming headsets or headsets as a whole who just made like a little wheel into the flat frame here, and it was kind of difficult to find sometimes. So this is actually pretty useful. It has a boom microphone that is non-detachable, which activates and mutes via flip up and flip down. Another thing that I noticed about the coating, so to say, it stains easily, like not actually dirt, but if you're just laying it down here and maybe you're doing like this, like just accidentally a little bit, you will have little black smudges on there. They kind of disappear after a while. I have no idea what this is here, but you can see some stains here just from normal use. So I guess that's disadvantage of using a white headset. That also makes it appear more cheaply made. But it is what it is, and you won't use these outside because you would look absolutely stupid wearing these outside. One cool thing though that I don't know, it's just like a little, I don't think you can call it a pet peeve, but it's just like something I kind of like. You can actually view the driver inside there through the little cloth thingy. And I always like this. Even with Sennheiser headphones, you can see the driver from the outside. And I just think that looks so cool. And here I think it looks even better. It's just cool to look at. First thing to say about these regarding comfort is that they are pretty big. I tried the XM5s in the store, and these are pretty much the same feeling on your head and how far they extend and just the fit itself. I have these like not a single step extended, and they feel pretty comfortable, they fit well, but would they be any bigger? For sure I could not use it. Like when I extend this headphone just like a single step on both sides, it's already kind of too big and not really comfortable anymore. So I think people with like smaller heads, or they should really try these first. And yeah, having these on my head, they feel pretty good. The material they used for the ear cup padding feels really nice. I don't even know how to really describe this. It's some kind of cloth material, but it's not like velour, or it also does not feel like fake leather or anything, kind of like a mix between both of these, and it doesn't heat up that much, I think. These are so damn ugly. I can put these on and it's just, I don't know. Like who the fuck designed these? Like you couldn't come up with a better idea than making these look like what people thought astronauts looked like, I don't know, in the 60s or whatever. But I do think the XM5s, their Bluetooth, their newest Bluetooth headphone, also looks pretty ugly. Like I really don't like how, like, the direction in which they are going. Who am I to criticize the famous Sony headphone designers? They use some really cheap rubber feeling material for the headband. It does its job fine, like it's not uncomfortable or anything, and I mean, at least there is decent padding there. But in contrast to the ear cups, this here feels really, really cheap, like really 30 euro gaming headset padding cheap. I guess ear cups are more important, and as long as there is some padding on the headband, it's fine. Like with the right fit, I don't have a hot spot on my head, so it's fine. They have a light, but maybe more average-ish clamping force, so it's not like they are loose on your head. They will fall down if you move a bit, or like not a bit, but if you move a lot around, then they kind of change their position, but they are not too loose. Like there is a decent clamping force, and yeah, they are pretty light, so usually they won't fall off your head. I guess walking around is fine, but running or anything like that could be a bit more difficult. There's some movement to the cups, so you can adjust them somewhat. And yeah, and while I do find these to be pretty comfortable, something about the fit and the closed off feeling makes these like a little more fatiguing to wear than maybe other closed back headphones or headsets. Like there's a certain pressure on your ears that develops after a while, and I don't even know how to really describe this. It's just like after 2 or 2.5 hours, I really have to take these down for like 15 minutes or so. I think that's also because these do not disappear on your head. I do think you get this feeling with like a lot of closed back headphones, because they have to isolate you from sound. Not a major thing here. All these are pretty comfortable. So just some additional things here. Connecting the headset with your system, or at least with my system, really fast and basically went without any problems. Not once did it not find the dongle, so it's basically one or 2 seconds. Like you just push the button, wait a few seconds, and then it's there. That doesn't get more easy than that. The only thing that happened to me for like 2 times since buying the H7 is that it will suddenly stop playing anything, which can only be resolved by basically unplugging the dongle and plugging it in again, and then restarting the headset, and then it works fine again. Again, this only happened like in 3 months, maybe 2 times, so it's not like a regular thing, and maybe something on my PC was bothering it there. But usually everything was fine. I had no connection issues. The software is also pretty okay. I don't really want to talk much about that here, because it's just like, to me, most of these are just okay. Like some of them are really bad, like from Asus. Like I wouldn't use any Armory Crate stuff anymore because that one is really awful. Um, but the how's it called? The Inzone hub is it's kind of fine. It's just it's nothing overwhelming. There you get an equalizer and several options to kind of change the sound and like some stuff you can do with the microphone. But actually, I didn't really fumble around much with that. The equalizer worked pretty well though. Apparently, Sony surround simulation is not that bad, but I did not fully test that because for the full version where it like where you have to take photos of your ears, you have to make an account just for that, and I'm not into software simulation of surround sound. I always think it just makes everything worse. But you can use the standard surround sound simulation without making an account, just within the InZone hub. So on all, the kind of technical side is pretty good and really convenient to use. At a range of like the wireless range is not that special. It will start to crackle, like, and the sound will have some stuttering if you walk maybe 5 6 7 meters and then there's a wall and you go behind that wall. It was actually worse than some of my other wireless headset I used before. It seemed to be really sensitive to walls and where you plug the dongle in. Like, obviously, it was better having the dongle in front of the PC than in the back, because then it's like an additional wall between the dongle and the headset, and then you get behind another wall in your flat, and then it's that. So finally, I can talk about the sound. This is without using EQ, just a sound out of the box. I'm sure you can make them sound better with EQ and change them more to your liking. But for example, if you're using these with a PlayStation, EQ apparently does not carry over. Like if you change the sound on your computer with EQ and then use the PlayStation, it does not carry over to the PlayStation. So you're stuck with the stock sound. Yeah, people who used Sony Bluetooth headphones will know what kind of sound signature to expect here. There's bass, like much bass, and it's mostly the mid bass and higher bass. There's a big elevation there, like from the mid to the higher bass, and it goes like really deep into the lower mid range, which makes these like pretty warm sounding and actually like a really boomy sounding headset. Strange enough, the sub bass is actually like not that present. Like it's definitely there. It's a close back Sony headphone, but yeah, the mid bass and the high bass is like way stronger. And again, this is the usual softer and boomy bass that you can find in a lot of Sony Bluetooth headphones, which can be a pleasant thing if you like that kind of sound. It kind of sounds like a better Razer Kraken with more clarity. But how does the InZone manage that? I guess they boosted the upper mid range and basically like all of the upper trebles. So we have like a lot of boomy bass, but then we throw in like a lot of these sharp noises and we have clarity. Who would have thought it's that easy? So everything kind of still sounds like an explosion, but now you have like an additional zing in the sound. So the whole upper mid range is boosted too, but actually avoids getting too shouty. Like the mid range in itself is actually not that bad in comparison to other headsets. It does not sound that bad or that unnatural. After that, like after the elevation in the upper mid range and lower treble, there's like a huge and ongoing boost in the upper treble. And I think this can be too much for some people. And I've heard this in reviews where people listen to a song and they instantly noticed, oh, these sound kind of sharp. And it does sound harsh and piercing from time to time, but it's not too bad. You have some sibilance there, but it's like right at the edge of being, at least for me, it's like right off the edge of being fatiguing or anything. But no, that does not mean it's detailed, because it's not. It just like the separation in itself and the image that like builds up within the music that is played through these headphones is just like really your typical standard gaming headset. And I don't know why people, maybe it's I mean it's audio, so everything like kind of sees things differently, and that's fine. But to me, elevated treble is does not mean it's detailed. With the H7, you just have this kind of zing and kind of sharpness with vocals and with like cymbals and all these instruments that fall into these kind of frequency range. I mean, just look at Odyssey with their like really relaxed sounding LCD2 and the LCD-X, which are incredible in showing you everything and separating, and like everything has its place in the sound stage. And this is what I would call like showing you detail, because it shows you everything in the song and where everything is, and even the finer things. Whereas these show you basically the main instrument that's the loudest, and then push the higher frequency of this instrument like even higher. It's not like, oh, there's a fine thing there, and oh there. No, it's just not. That doesn't mean these are bad. It's just like a gaming headset, and it's not made to analyze music. Also heard another thing about these getting not loud enough. And like, how loud are you listening to music? I don't have any problem with these getting, like, they get plenty loud. And playing Insurgency, like the explosions were so damn loud, it was already kind of distracting. And I do not have these on full volume or anything. The huge mid bass emphasis drowns out most of the harshness, but it also makes the H7 kind of devoid of emotion. Like, I just do not really feel music. It does really sound like the most basic mid bass heavy sound ever. Like the evolution of the general gaming headset sound falling into extreme mediocrity. Still, I think they tried to emulate their new XM5 Bluetooth headphone, like sound wise and design wise. It's kind of similar with like less sub bass, basically the same huge amount of mid bass and this upper treble peak. So just sometimes with like some voices symbols, or like when we're talking about gaming, the gunshots can be really piercing, which is also a good thing, because there's like you can hear the gunshots really clearly. Though I have to say, like, nicely mixed electronic music does sound quite good. Again, better than the Razer Kraken. So I do think the H7 sounds okay, like you can listen to music with this. It's just not especially good at anything. And actually, the sound does not warrant the price tag of 200 euro. But it's gaming and it's wireless, so that will always cost you extra. The soundstage is a little weird, because it is actually quite wide to the sides, but it's really, really blobby. Like, you have left, center, and right. You don't, at least I do not hear anything in between, and the sides in itself are really closed. So you have like 1 point left, 1 point in the middle, or maybe like 1 or 2 points in the middle, and then 1 point on the right. It feels kind of detached from one another, and yeah, just a weird thing how the stage is built up there. But if I'm being honest, if it's about a wireless gaming headset, it's about convenience, and it's quite okay for being a gaming headset. So how do these sound in game? I mean, at least the Razer Kraken Hypersense, at least they had this pretty cool gimmick with the Hypersense. Yeah, actually, the H7 is in game is not much different than what I said about music listening. They are okay. Again, the bass is pretty noticeable, does not sound wrong or anything. The piercing highs in the upper treble do get kind of exhausting to listen to with the several sound effects that fall into that range. Like on one side, it's obviously good to hear gunshots better. But for example, I play like in just some indie horror game, and while the normal voice acting was just fine, was okay, there was like a loud hissing noise which came as a basically jump scare, and it was like a knife into my ear because this hissing fell into that elevated area of treble, and it was just so different than all the other voices, even different from other jump scares. It's just like a weird thing when there's like an not a, like more than a whisper, like really a hissing, and then it's like your ears get pierced right through. So again, I'm not like a professional, or I'm not even a good FPS player. But I found the sound to be pretty overwhelming. Like explosions and gunshots were really loud. And yeah, you could point to the general direction. It should be like that, but anything else gets drowned, really drowned. Like, and the explosions are so, I mean, it's cool. It's cool if you want to enjoy single player shooter, I guess. I mean, I guess it's designed that way to be like, oh wow, here's that loud explosion, and here's this explosion, and wow, this is loud, and I'm so involved in the game. But I guess for really pointing to a direction, like the imaging is not good enough. But again, within those action-packed scenes, it was actually kind of immersive. So again, I think single-player action games are really cool to play with these. And to be honest, I fail to know that anything that is less or above average here than what you get from other headset in that price category. I mean, obviously there are ones which are worse, like way worse, and this one is okay, but it's just not really much to talk about here anymore. And while you could balance out the frequencies a bit, turn the bass down and everything, and I tried that once or twice, but still you had this really blobby soundstage around you that was kind of not really that useful for pinpoint imaging. Like, obviously, again, you can get the general direction because it's like a really basic function of a headphone. Like, that should work, but there's not like a real stage that's there, not really a lot of depth or anything. It's just like really average gaming headset type of imaging, even with like a few tweaks there. It did improve for music, like obviously not the imaging separation, anything, just the general sound, making it less bass heavy and everything. But you cannot like tweak the capabilities of the drivers or the resonances inside the ear cup and everything. And I actually prefer to use any kind of headphone just in stock sound. Regarding the sound of the microphone, I recorded a microphone test so you can get an idea of what it sounds like. I played around a bit with the microphone modes, I guess. Yeah, well, the noise cancelling did not seem to work that well, but yeah, just hear for yourself. This is a recording of the microphone of the Sony H7. I recorded this just using my voice recorder on the computer, and to demonstrate the noise cancelling capabilities of the microphone, I will just make some noise with my keyboard right now, so you can so you know what to expect from that. And now I will just make some environmental noises here. So yeah, this is just how it sounds like. So I've got a few comparisons here with other gaming headsets that I used before. I already talked about the Razer Kraken Hypersense, and the H7 has a way better general sound quality. It's definitely more natural, while still having like a lot of bass. But at least the H7 has some high frequency extension and is more comfortable. Like if you don't care about the Hypersense feature, then there's really no reason to get a Kraken headset when you can choose the H7, because that one it's just better. Like the sound is just, it's a better headset, all things considered. I also had the Syn Pro Air from Roccat in the past, which is less bassy and more natural sounding headset. Could be a little thin stock sound when you're used to gaming headsets. I really liked it though, because sound-wise it's actually far better like when it comes to music than the general gaming headset. And I think they just released the Syn Pro Max or something like this, and I've already watched a few reviews, and they kind of kept it that way. Like the sound quality from these Roccat headsets is just better than what you usually get with gaming headsets. Yeah, there was even like some separation of instruments, and I remember it being easy to EQ, and the drivers taking the changes really well. But Rocket's software and just the whole process to use their headsets is just awful. Like with every headset I had from them, it took several times to connect. Then I had to plug the dongle like out and in again. I had to turn the headset off and on again. And this is just like a few times. I was happy when I just had to do it like 2 times. Like every time. It's just like that was a general thing. I think I'm gonna do an Elo Air review, because I still have that one here. If it comes to headsets, I would always recommend Roccat headsets if they could get their shit together with everything that is not sound and comfort. These two things are really good, but the rest is so bad. The software they used with the Syn Pro Air, the Neon, I had to uninstall it like 2 or 3 times because it just bricked itself. Like you started it and it was just black, and you couldn't update anything, you could not change anything. It's just you had to reinstall the whole thing. It was awful. I sold the Syn Pro Air, and I think they abandoned Neon because they couldn't get it to work properly, and now they're back again with the how's it called, Swarm, which is okay. It's okay. It's not a good software, but you can use it. I just talked about it, the Elo Air. And as much as I like the Elo Air for its like a suspension strap and just a general fit, like it's pretty clampy and pretty tight, and the pads are just not that good, but it will stay firmly on your head. For 50, like most of the time you get like a discount on the Elo Air nowadays. It's just like €50, like every other week I look it up. Usually it's 100, but so you get it at half the price, and for €50 it's really good. The Sony does sound better, but it should sound better because it's like way more expensive. But if you don't want to pay that much money, the Elo Air is like an easy recommendation if you can deal with all these, like the connection process. Like you plug the dongle in, push the power on button on the headset, and then it's searching for like one another. This takes like maybe 30-40 seconds. And if you're lucky, it will connect. If you're not, it will search for eternity. So you have to, replug the dongle, restart the headset. If you're lucky, it works. Then if you're not lucky, you have to do this like for 3 or 4 times. And it's just, apparently they solved it with like an update from like via Swarm. You can update obviously the headset and the firmware and everything, but it didn't really solve anything for me, which is kind of bad because I always want to recommend like Roccat products because they're really good, but then there's like one or two things about them that it's just so bad. And the stage actually with the H7, like the sound stage was more real because the Elo Air felt really kind of really flat. Like it's difficult to describe, but it did not sound just as good as the H7. Although the H7 has this blobby thing going on, it's just kind of it's okay to listen to. And the Elo Air has less boominess, but overall feels like just a little less rich and more artificial in its sound. Bass does not hit that well. It lacks sub bass, while still it has like a little too much mid bass, like just relative to one another. Has some peak and some harshness in the upper mid range, and overall it's just like it's good for 100 and really good for €50 gaming headset, but more than that, you get what you pay for, basically. So overall, should you buy the Sony H7? Actually, it's kind of difficult to say here. They are really convenient to use, and the technical side is just like so, yeah, really user friendly. You just plug it in and turn it on and it works, which is always a good thing for a wireless headset. Of course, that's the reason you bought it. You want some conveniency here. Yeah, if you like bass, I guess, or if you just like want to cue them a bit, then it's fine, I guess, for a gaming headset. But would I pay €200 again for these? I don't think so. It's just like the overall quality of the sound is just not good enough to make me happy about my purchase. Like, even though it's really convenient and everything, I can buy better headphones for €200, even though they are wired. But yeah, the conveniency alone is not a big enough point for me to make these worth the money. Still, it's a gaming headset, and people who use gaming headsets and maybe don't just want to deal with hi-fi stuff or anything, just give me a headset. I guess for them it's fine. You can definitely get worse things around that price point, and I think nowadays you can get them on a discount for like 150 or so. I guess then it's fine. I would not buy these if you play like more professional. It's just like a really everything here screams like consumer type product. It does feel pretty cheap in your hand. Still, it's comfortable, it's easy to use, and the sound is just like the most basic consumer type sound ever. Not in a bad way, but there's also nothing really good about it. I guess that's all I have to say here. You really have to make up your mind there if you want to go wireless or if you just go with the wired thing and maybe are more happy about the sound quality there. Yeah, that's all. Hope to see you next time.